Charleston Jazz is building a local and global community for jazz through various outlets while preserving and celebrating the jazz history here in the Lowcountry. Today, I talk one-on-one with Tatjana Beylotte, the Executive Director of Charleston Jazz, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Tatjana Beylotte, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. You are the Executive Director of Charleston Jazz, which was founded in 2008 as a nonprofit organization whose mission is to build a local and global community for jazz through performance, education, and outreach while celebrating Charleston's obvious rich history in jazz. Ask you, what's new, what's now with that?
Oh, well, thank you. Great introduction. Yes, we've been in Charleston now for 15 years operating as Charleston Jazz. Originally, it was called the Jazz Artists of Charleston. And we are performing with the Charleston Jazz Orchestra, which was the original program that the organization was based on when it was founded. And we are in our 15th season. Now directed by Robert Lewis, who has been the music director since 2019, following a decade of music directing by Charlton Singleton. So, yes. So Robert has been the director since then, and our season kicks off on February 25th. We're bringing in a guest artist, Wycliffe Gordon, who is a tremendous trombone player, vocalist, musician all around, and also a great educator. And he'll be performing the music of New Orleans. So it's going to be a fun way to kick off our season. And he's also going to be in town working with our students that are enrolled at the Charleston Jazz Academy. Yes. So this is sort of a great performance that demonstrates what we try to do here in Charleston, cultivating jazz through performance and education. So while he's in town, he'll work with our students at the academy. We have youth groups, combo groups, ensembles, and they will get a chance to work with him one-on-one as well as in group settings while he's here. And also he'll be visiting some schools in the area, I think he'll be visiting a high school, Lucy Beckham High School this time. So yeah, that's a wonderful way to kick it off. And then so the Charleston Jazz Orchestra performs 6 times at the Charleston Music Hall a year. And then sometimes in other places as well when opportunities arrive. For example, we will be performing in Walterboro.
Oh, wow.
Later this month. At the Colleton Civic Center, a program called Jazz on the Screen, and with guest vocalist Sandrina Dunning.
Oh,
so
yes.
when we have the opportunity, we try to get in other communities to perform this great music and engage as many people as possible through that. And then another exciting program that we've been doing for several years, this will be our 8th year of the Charleston Jazz Festival, and that will be in April 20th through 23rd. It's Thursday through Sunday, and that's an opportunity for us to present both local as well as nationally and internationally renowned jazz artists here in Charleston.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
And I hope I can get you back on Quintin's Close-Ups in March so we can talk in depth about the festival.
Oh, I'm glad to.
Oh, well, thank you greatly. I'm glad to hear that in advance. And I wanted to ask you this earlier because you talked a lot, obviously, about jazz, and this particular organization has been in existence since 2008. So what is the biggest difference from 2008 to right now when you think of jazz here in Charleston?
Well, the biggest, for the organization, our biggest difference is that now we operate a school for jazz music called the Charleston Jazz Academy. So in 2017, we absorbed what was called the Leonard School of Music, which was a music school here in Charleston for a couple of decades, led by Mr. Leonard. And and we were still in the same space on Montague Avenue that Leonard School of Music was, but we changed the name to the Charleston Jazz Academy to fulfill a goal and an important objective for the organization, which is to introduce and educate the next generation to jazz and this amazing music and the history that we have here in Charleston, so that we can continue to have a thriving jazz community here in Charleston and around the country. So that is the biggest difference in our organization in terms of programming. So that also has extended our reach. We're investing a lot more resources in education and outreach programs than we've had before. That would be, for the organization, a big difference in terms of our overall reach. And then here in Charleston, in terms of the difference, I mean, I've been with the organization since 2018, so a little bit more than 3 years, and 4 years, I don't know, but it's been a while. So while I've been here, it's, obviously the pandemic has been a little bit of an interruption into our ability to perform to the extent that we have before, including, audiences, are coming back, and it's nice to see that is happening again, but it's definitely been different in terms of just the culture around performing, and audiences have changed. So we've gotten through the pandemic, and so we're here and we're thriving and we're continuing to perform and cultivate this great art form. But that was definitely a little bit of a disruption, as it has for many other arts organizations around the country, including here.
And you talk about obviously those audiences coming back. So because of the pandemic, how much of the audience have actually returned?
You know what? It's so in 2022 was sort of the first year for us to normal in terms of performances. Like, our entire orchestra was on stage in the music hall performing, and it slowly grew throughout the year. So by the end of last year, we are nearly back to where we used to be in terms of audiences compared to 2019, which is really the last year that we're, pre-pandemic in terms of our performances and audiences. So, which means, we're, like I said, we're about, our first performance isn't until late February here in Charleston. So hopefully the momentum of will continue, and we will continue to get back to where we were. But I would say at the end of last year, we were about 80 to 90% what we used to have in terms of audiences.
And what is the demographic with that particular audience?
Yeah, good question. So it depends on the kinds of performances, but for example, our Charleston Jazz Festival has a little bit of a different demographic than our orchestra audience does. For our Charleston Jazz Orchestra, typically 80% of people are residents of Charleston County, and about, I would say about 60% of them are over the age of 60, probably, and then with the festival, we have more, about 50 to 60% of people come from out of town. So it attracts a lot of people from outside of Charleston. They're either already in town and really attracted to the festival offerings and the kind of artists we show. And there also tend to be the age demographic is also a little bit on the younger side for the festival, or just a more, more even spread in terms of the ages. Yeah.
And this might be a redundant question, Tatjana, but in what way do you attract and maintain an increasing and diverse audience base?
Yeah, so we try to, when we make decisions that comes to programming, we try to have a diverse offering. So from the, genre within, there's a big variety of genres within jazz, in terms of, swing to contemporary jazz to fusion, etc. So that usually has an impact of who comes. So we try to pay attention to that, intentionally selecting whether it's our themes for our season for the orchestra, as well as for our festival artists. For example, we bring in guest artists. So we have Wycliffe Gordon come in, and we're going to focus that on sort of the music of New Orleans. So we expect that will be a very popular program. And then in September, we're bringing in Kiana Parler to do a program about, we're calling it the Queens of Jazz. So she will be highlighting and performing music of Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald. And then we're in March, we're doing an entire program dedicated to the evolution of swing music.
Right.
So we hope that will also attract sort of this popularity of swing dance that we see all over the country. Hopefully we'll have some of those people be interested in coming. And then it will also really go into the history a little bit about the evolution of jazz and swing and how it connects to here in Charleston and the Jenkins Orphanage.
Right.
So we're excited about that. And then for the festival, we're showcasing some really young artists. Samar Joy, she's in her 20s. She's incredibly talented and popular and a rising star. And I think that will bring in some younger people too. She has a huge TikTok following. And so that is a platform, of course, that attracts us, a certain demographic. And so, we try to present as many different kinds of performers in terms of background, diversity, age, demographic, every year, the best we can. So
Tatjana, let me ask you this: when it comes to evolution, what are the areas of jazz that you see that evolution in?
Well, that's a good question. Do you mean like historically or sort of?
And currently, yes, ma'am.
I would say, here in Charleston, I mean, we see, we have a jazz club, which is really great, and so that's a great opportunity for our local jazz musicians to have a stage to perform on, in a sort of a listening room atmosphere, opposed to, sort of a restaurant, which also is a place to play, but it's different than, sort of being more background music versus being in an actual listening room like Forte Jazz Club allows. And so here in Charleston, that's been really great to see. And I hope that we can sustain that, because the more venues we have here in Charleston dedicated to presenting jazz, the better we will have support for our jazz musicians here, and that they will stay here and have in life enough to live on. We try to employ as many different musicians here in Charleston as we can through our different programs. Another cool program that we do every year is with the Gibbs Museum of Art. So that reminded me, because it's called The Art of Jazz. And we basically commission different musicians, jazz musicians, every year to write new music based on the exhibit that's on display at the Gibbs Museum, and then they perform it at the Gibbs Museum. And so that is a great program that allows us to motivate and encourage musicians to write new music and pay them for it and then present it and perform it. And that is also a program that allows us to work with a variety of artists here in Charleston that we have. And then the same with our Low Country Jazz Night during the festival. That's also designed to primarily showcase musicians here from the area. So we try really hard to have programs available that a lot of different artists in our community can participate in. The Charleston Jazz Orchestra is sort of a set group of musicians. sometimes there are opportunities, you know, for subbing and things like that, for new people to get a chance to get involved in the orchestra. But since this is more of a set group, we try to have other programs too that, you know, gets more musicians here in the community involved. And then last year we launched a new group called Momentum. That's led by Demetrius Doctor, who is a wonderful, talented artist here in Charleston. And his group focuses sort of on the fusion of jazz, R&B, jazz, hip hop, sort of different. So that is sort of a different kind of niche within jazz. And so we've put this group together with him being the leader, and they've been playing in different places around town since last year, different community events like the North Charleston Arts Fest and Moja Arts Festival, and then also Forte Jazz Club. And so that is sort of our most recently new launch program that we've added to our portfolio. So if we continue to evolve, just like the music continues to evolve, the community continues to evolve, as we all know, and grows very much. So it's an exciting time for the organization, and we're having a good time.
And speaking of time, let me ask you this bluntly. What is the art of jazz right now in your mind?
Well, I think that it's a timeless art form, and improvisation being such an essential component of it, it will continue to evolve, you know, and to the times, and with, you know, so it combines, you know, the traditions of the past and combines them with music from today, and you know, cultural influences that evolve with us as a community. And so it's really, you know, it's a great art form, and it's really America's original art form.
Yes.
And so and here and having it here in Charleston, and make sure that it has a place here and a home here continuously is really important, and to really protect the history that we have here. And so I'm not sure if that really answered it, but it was my attempt to answer it anyway.
Oh, no worries, no worries. So let me ask you this, Tatjana. So what are those cultural influences in jazz right now here in the Low Country?
Let's see. Today, I think it's just, you know, the history is so rich, and the influences of the history here in Charleston will always be at the core of this music, and I think that will be carried on through time. I'm not a jazz historian, so I'm not sure, you know, exactly what someone, you know, how to answer this question really, but that would be my take on it.
And let me ask you this. You obviously you talk about the understanding of jazz earlier, but what is today's misconception of jazz overall?
I think sometimes there's a misconception that it's hard to understand, maybe, you know, there's sort of this exclusivity to it, and or maybe perhaps people might think they don't understand it, they don't you know, and they feel intimidated by it, you know. And all I would advise is that most people that have allowed themselves an opportunity to attend a concert, whether it's our Charleston Jazz Orchestra or a festival performance, or any of our shows, I think once you start going, just like with many things, it really grows on you. And there's so much to hear, and so many connections with other musical art forms like classical music and current music. And so I think that's the biggest challenge, is really to introduce new people to this art form. And once you're in it, it's really something that I think appeals to many more people if they give themselves a chance to just go and check it out. And it's a lot of fun. It's jazz is definitely, in our Charleston Jazz Orchestra performances and others, it's very engaging and fun, and people clap all the time, whenever they feel like it. It's not, you don't have to be super quiet necessarily. So it's a lot of fun. And one way, we try to appeal to all ages is we have a concert coming up in partnership with the Gilliard Center.
Right here.
Yeah, in a couple of weeks, we're doing a concert. We do it every year. It's for school students, for school groups. It's called Jazz Day for Kids, and we've been doing it for many, many years. And we're doing it in partnership with the Gilliard, and so it's going to be our Charleston Jazz Orchestra with Charlton Singleton is going to be performing with us, and it's designed to appeal to elementary and middle school students. And so it's free for Title I schools and very low cost for other schools, and I believe it's already sold out. So that's a lot of kids, and they love it. And that's a wonderful, actually, it's one of my favorite concerts to observe and go to, because the participation by the kids, it's just awesome to watch them get so into it and have so much fun with the music, and that's really, I mean, it's really, this music has a lot to offer, and there's so much variety within jazz, it's so yeah.
And let me ask you this. How has jazz grown on you personally?
It's just I just have grown to love it more. I mean, over time, I've always been interested in jazz. I've always listened to it even before I took this role. And since working here, and I hear it so much more, and I listen to it all the time, and I'm more, so it's just grown on me. And what's, the power of this music is just incredible, in terms of how it can really connect the community with each other, engage people of all ages. As music, the power of music is incredible. And then jazz is so neat because of the improvisation, the call and response, and the communication and the conversations that can take place on stage, often improvised, which means it'll never happen the same again. So it's a moment in time, and it really pulls you into the present. So you can really absorb what the music that you're hearing in front of you, and the more you listen to it, when improvisations are happening and when not, so it's just, there's just so much nuance to it. And so it just never gets boring.
That's exactly right.
It just doesn't, and that's really appealing, and that's a lot, and that's what keeps me going. And also we have so much more work to do and there's so much opportunity to engage the community of all here in Charleston through this music. So we're just excited to have the opportunity to do that.
And what do you see as those emerging trends right now with jazz?
God, I should have had somebody else here with me. Emerging trends. Well, I think, just like a lot of organizations here everywhere. We need to focus on bringing younger people into our audiences so this art form and this music can be sustained. So that is something we're working on through different, through Momentum and other groups to appeal to a younger audience. But that's sort of a trend that I see in terms of, running arts organizations. And that's really what my specialty is the managing of the organization. So,
well, let me ask you this, Ms. Tatjana, and I want to ask this early, but I'll ask it now. But who in this community are you actually partnering with to reach a broader audience?
So we do, we partner with, the school systems in terms of our education programs. So, and then with the Gilliard.
Sure. Yeah.
And it just kind of depends what we're doing and where we're performing. We're also, during the pandemic, we started performing outdoors at Firefly Distillery. And we've actually seen by just performing in a different location and being outdoors has actually brought in new audiences that we haven't seen before, or that would otherwise not consider coming, they wouldn't consider coming to the Charleston Music Hall. So like younger families, they bring their kids, and being in North Charleston has also been a great opportunity to engage more that community. And so we're going to continue to do that. So partnering with different venues that are in different parts of the town definitely make a difference. And so, like I mentioned before, going to Walterboro, going to North Charleston,
Sure.
And we've been in other communities too. We go to Kiowa sometimes, once a year, and we have a really active education program on Johns Island. We're working with Angel Oak Elementary School there. We do an in-school program there, teaching them to play the melodica. And we're trying, like I said, we're trying to go into as many different communities, whether it's through our outreach programs and education programs or our performance programs. So every year we try to reach a new segment of our community, if we can.
And what does the community want from the jazz community?
I think it's a little bit of, from just having a good time and being entertained by music that people are interested in. I think learning about the connection of how jazz originated and what the role Charleston has played. It's an opportunity to come together with other people in the community to enjoy this great art form. And then, of course, we're here to support the musicians that live here, that trying to make a living here. And many have other jobs. And so this community will only be, successful if there's enough opportunities provided. So.
Yes. And lastly, Ms. Tatjana, I want to ask you this too, but how do you hope this art form will be sustainable in the next 5 to 10 years with the community support?
So, like we're a nonprofit organization. Yes. So our revenues come about, 40 to 50% from ticket sales, and then the rest comes from different sources. We have, generous individuals in the community that make contributions to us. And then we do a lot of grant writing, as well as we have a sponsorship program. And so that is going to be essential, especially since the pandemic has reduced our ticket sales. That, the money we raise has come even more important and has become a larger segment of our revenue than it has before. So, and then, growing our audience and reaching younger audiences, that's sustainable. That's going to be key to sustaining in the long term, is to just make sure that we introduce as many new people, no matter their age, yes, but also younger ages, to our performances, to this art form, and by educating, the younger, like, students, elementary school, middle school, high school, that we do through our outreach programs and through our program at the Academy, that will over time for sure make a difference in terms of keeping this art form relevant. And what we do at the Academy is not only designed to produce more professional musicians, but really is to just increase the appreciation for this art form and make it available, and make sure that no matter what your background is, you have an opportunity to either learn to play this music or learn more about this music, and so that it's something you know about, and maybe something you appreciate, hopefully throughout your life.
Yes,
whether you end up a musician or just somebody that appreciates it.
yes,
And that's also key to our sustainability in the long run for this art form.
yes,
And also for us as Charleston Jazz, because we're not going anywhere.
yes. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so when you think of obviously 2020 and the pandemic, how much were the ticket sales reduced by?
Oh gosh. I mean, at the beginning, 2020 was obviously very little there was almost no ticket revenues after the pandemic began. And then in 2021 and 2022, it slowly came back. And then for a long time, we were hovering around 60-70%. And like I said, we ended last year with being around, 85-90%. And that was, our last concert of the year was our most popular concert every year, which was our holiday swing concert.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, so we hope that we will continue to get our audiences back to pre-pandemic levels, and this year. So anyone that's watching, please
Yes.
check it out.
Absolutely. And one last question for you, Ms. Tatjana. How does your organization diversify its funding mix to support jazz here in the Low Country 5-10 years from now?
So we're pretty good. We're pretty well diversified in terms of the different funding sources. We just need to grow them, in terms of more. There's more opportunity. We don't have a, very big staff. So hopefully over time we will get more staff support so that we can engage more people and help with the fundraising side of things. So, but diversification is good. It's just we need more from every part. More contributions from individuals, and get more companies involved and businesses to help us sponsor events and things like that. So we're working on that.
And for somebody who's watching this interview, how should they go about that?
Oh yeah, please visit us at charlestonjazz.com. All of our performances are listed there, as well as how to support us. There is a big button on the right-hand corner that says to support. So you can click there, or just follow us on social media channels, sign up to our e-newsletter, and then you won't miss a beat.
That's amazing. Well, Tatjana Beylotte with Charleston Jazz, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome anytime.